Hello everyone, and welcome to Rol NL. My name is Seregras, you can call me Sere, I know it's difficult to pronounce. And today we have a very special session for two things, because it is entirely English. It's our first stream ever in English here in Rol NL, and this channel is from Spain. And because we have three guests from the English-speaking community to have a talk about our hobby, their views, to share experiences and common views and common experiences in games and our TTRPGs. And we are also going to play a quick game at the end of this session. But now let me introduce our guests. Let's start bottom left. Prue, welcome to Rol NL. Hola. And
hola.
Hola, and gracias and thanks for joining us today. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. Yeah. Do you need me to talk about me for a second?
Can you tell us a bit about yourself? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Proopy Pants everywhere online, like it says in the little thingy. And I guess my big thing is that earlier this year, I started streaming with my friends, and then I got very into the online TTRPG community, and I met loads of wonderful people. And I was like, a lot of these people live stream in America, and I'm in bed. I want to meet some UK and European folks so that I can, support their work and be awake for it and stuff. And so I started a Discord, and then that Discord led to a charity weekend that was raising money for Mind UK, and we raised like £3,000 playing TTRPGs together, and it all snowballed. And so that is my stake in the European TTRPG community, I suppose. Yes. Nice. That's me.
Nice. That's very good. I didn't know about that. That's very good. So next guest, top right, Amelia Tyler. How are you, Amelia? Thanks, gracias for being here. How are you?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm good. It's been a week already, and we're only one day in. But it's just nice to do some more tabletop and chat to some people who love that as much as I do, to be honest, because I'm only in one campaign and it's only once every other week at the moment, so I'm getting that craving,
Good.
I miss it. But hello, everybody. I'm Amelia Tyler. I'm a voice actor, primarily for video games. You might know me as Malady from Divinity Original Sin 2. I'm the narrator of Baldur's Gate 3, Nyrissa in Pathfinder Kingmaker, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I play the games as well as making face noises for the games.
That's great. That's great. We have also experience of in playing with the voice actors, because one of our groups is Doblajes y Mazmorras, which literally means dungeons and voice acting. Nice. So in Spanish. So yeah, it's not the first time for us. In English it is. So thanks, gracias. And finally, lastly, our last guest, Matt. Gracias for being here. How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. Yeah, I think I'd mirror what was said about it being a week, even though we're already only one day in. That's a big mood. I write and publish small RPG stuff as a sealed library. I've done solo games, but I also do some stuff that's aimed at kind of traditional, like Dungeons and Dragons and adjacent games. That's about like sharing out the role of the GM between players. That's a thing I quite enjoy. And yeah, I'm looking forward to playing in more online groups. I've played online a fair amount, but with a fairly small group of people. And this represents expanding that by quite a lot.
Good. Good expansion.
Yeah, with most, I've played online a fair amount, but it's been the same few people in slightly different arrangements all the time. So it's quite nice to branch out a little bit.
Good. Okay, so thanks everyone. So let's start with our talk. Let's start with the first question. For everyone in the chat, Spanish people, gente de España. So if you want to ask something, just put it in caps lock, okay? Mayúsculas, please, because if not, I'm gonna miss it. Yeah. First question, because we're gonna try to have a dynamic conversation. So don't think of this as an interview or anything. Yeah. So just let's share ideas. Yeah. So we are a bit jealous, to be honest, in Spain and the Spanish-speaking community, because we think that like the general perception of role-playing games in the UK and in the USA is very good, is amazing lately, yeah, and TTRPGs have won like a very solid spot in your communities, in your popular culture too, no? But on the other hand, the social acceptance of the hobby in Spain and the Spanish-speaking countries is not that good. It's not as good as there. Yeah, still has some old views. Yeah, like it's a game for kids and things like that. Yeah, but this thing is rapidly improving. So, how do you think that you've achieved that position in the English-speaking community, or how do you think that this has improved that much in your view?
It's been quite recent, hasn't it? As far as I'm concerned, anyway. I'm not one of those people who's been playing for decades. I think I played my first TTRPG like 4 years ago, maybe. And before that, I didn't really know a huge amount about that sort of thing. But certainly things like Critical Role and a whole bunch of other shows have brought it more into the public perception. And I think once companies start seeing it as something that can be useful as far as promotion and publishing and getting new games out there, something exciting to bring viewers in. From my point of view as a layman, that's where the interest's been. So I think maybe in your country, if a few companies got behind it and showed that it was profitable, I hate to make it about that, but it does help. It'll change quite quickly, I think.
Do you think it is that profitable as a hobby?
Yes. I mean, not as a like part-time hobby. But certainly the crit role actors are doing quite well.
Yeah.
You don't make a living just off video game acting.
Yeah.
Most of the time. They're doing very well.
I think the number of people that it's profitable for has grown and is going to keep growing, right? Like not that long ago, the number of people RPGs were profitable for was very small. It was a very kind of core established group of people. And I think that circle grows every day. And I think that's a positive thing. And I think it's slowly expanding to include more people outside English speaking countries too. Yeah. Slowly.
Yeah.
And I love, sorry.
I was going to say we have the advantage that there's a lot of kind of English-speaking pop culture references that have popped up, like Stranger Things comes to mind. So many people must know what D&D is now because of Stranger Things, and Stranger Things makes it look fun. You know, it's not. Then the main characters in that TV show are joyful, fun children that, like, apart from the horrible stuff that's happening to them,
it's just a happy show.
But you know that they're not like the dweebs. They're not the losers at the back of the class. They're like the cool heroes of the show, and they play D&D. And I've noticed even in like cartoons and things, there's always like I noticed I was watching She-Ra, the new She-Ra, Princesses of Power, and there was an episode where they played a TTRPG. Like there was, you know, and it was like a gimmicky thing, and that seems to be that there's like in English speaking television, at least, there's been an upswing in just characters playing tabletop role-playing games for fun, and it being not seen as like either a nerdy thing or even like a devil thing, like the Satanic Panic in the 80s. And so that's probably helping push things along as well, for the English-speaking side of the hobby. There's
been I guess you might call it like a mainstream acceptance of like nerd culture generally, right? With things like comic book adaptations. But then do you think that that's the same thing is starting to affect non-English speaking countries? Like Stranger Things is on Netflix, which is popular globally in multiple languages. Do you think that helps with the acceptance?
In Spain, it kind of helped Stranger Things, honestly. But the thing is that we have a kind of a stigma in Spain because, I don't know if you know it, we kind of lost a full generation of players because there was these crimes in 1996 called the murders of the role-playing games.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Isn't it nice when it gives it a name that's used?
Yeah, that's it. And the murders didn't have anything to do with role-playing games, which is two psychos that made a creepy game and started killing people. Yeah. But it had nothing to do with role-playing games, but the media called it the role-playing games murders. So a lot of parents, a lot of people start seeing it as something dangerous. And that was that way for 10 years, yeah? And I remember my mom and the mothers of other friends like forbidding us playing D&D, for example. And a lot of that happened in Spain. And recently that view has started changing because of, like you said, Stranger Things, Critical Role, and things like that. But still a long way to go. Yeah.
25 years since that, and it's beginning to kind of tail off.
I think it is something for the younger generations to embrace and not worry so much about the hangovers from that kind of thing going on. Because if I ask somebody from my parents' generation about D&D or role playing in general, they'd be like, is that weird kids thing? I don't know. Like I'm lucky enough to be in an industry where pretty much everybody plays and they get it, so I think I'm kind of in a bit of an echo chamber when it comes to that sort of thing.
Do you think it matters also that even if they do hear something like that, because of the internet, it's much easier to see past it?
Yeah, I was going to say that I definitely think we're getting more and more digital every year. And so if you're, say, a teenager now and you're on TikTok and there's great D&D content on TikTok, fantastic D&D content on TikTok, and you're just surrounded by so many people from all over the world who are like, no, this is fine. We enjoy ourselves. We look after each other. Then you're going to be more likely to take part, right? I hope the internet is very much a double-edged thing, you know. We can all admit the internet has its downsides, but especially, well, during the last year as well, tabletop role-playing games can be online, but also, for sure, like the pop culture spread of how acceptable and enjoyable TTRPGs are is better because of social media giving us this nicer spin. You're far more likely to find out about something on social media than through television and things these days. I think anyway.
For sure. Yeah. I think so.
And it was kind of adorable when lockdown first started, because I've been doing tabletop shows and streaming and stuff, and like obviously you're all very familiar with the tech involved and stuff. Seeing my parents' generation trying to figure out Zoom and camera angles and lighting and stuff, and everybody from my generation just like, let me help you out with that. Come on, let's get you looking pretty.
And also all of the like role players and streamers with their like nice mics with the pop screens, and people like, why are you joining this Zoom call with all of this tech? And you're like, like, I suppose for you, because you work in industry, it's not as strange, but when you're like just joining an ordinary work call and everyone's like, you have a lot of kit, and you're like, I play TTRPG sometimes.
I don't use this on work calls because people are like, oh, what have you got? I'd just rather pretend I don't have it on a work call. That's much easier.
XLR, their heads would explode.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So another question here. So in Spain, like the number of RPG publishers grows every year, a lot lately. And more games are being published by different groups, companies, and we have more companies by the day. But a game reaching like the 1,000 sold copies is like, wow, an incredible achievement. Incredible. 1,000 is like, whoa, my God, what a game. Yeah. And that's not what happened at your end. Yeah. But again, in our industry, in our market, in the Spanish-speaking countries, we see more weight of the indie games, because they all kind of have a strong influence, in the online, aside from D&D and all the games, But what we see, I don't know if this is true. What we see from our end is that D&D has an incredible weight in the English-speaking community, the TTRPGs community. Is this true in that way, or do indie games or other games that are non-D20, non-Wizards of the Coast owned, do they still have a chance? Are they played more? Yeah.
I've personally never played actual D&D. If anybody would like to play D&D with me, I'm totally up for it, but that's not my experience of online roleplay. so I'm not sure if I can really speak to it. Like, I can't say I prefer it because I've never tried it, but I very much enjoy the unusual, trying out different systems and different dice setups, getting to play around with different settings.
Yeah, from my experience, D&D is basically a default. Like, if you're talking about tabletop, in fact, saying TTRPG is gonna get more eyebrows raised at me than saying D&D.
Yeah.
People will know D&D.
Yeah. It's the
And
gateway game.
If you can see, those are very obviously D&D books right there on my shelf. I play a fair bit of D&D, and I would say, from my experience, that D&D is the one that most people will know and have played, but also that it's wonderful how many people are willing to try other games. I, over the last year, have played probably more not D&D systems than D&D, because I found this online community, and because I was like, hey, hold on, this other person was playing, I don't know, Thirsty Sword Lesbians. That sounds fun. I want to try it. And then slowly picking more and more games. And then I found the joy of like solo games. And I think it would be, I don't know how many people play them, but so like solo indie TTRPGs where you sit and you journal and you just, basically, they're always little like mindfulness exercises. I think they're really lovely and beautiful, and I enjoy spending time playing those. I believe I originally found Matt on Twitter because I was like, I want to find indie devs in the UK, and I went on a like Twitter deep dive.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think we both went through, because I've just moved back to the UK and I was looking for more UK-based people. And you were in a similar, finding more like indie RPG writers here. So I think, yeah, that's how we crossed paths here, right?
Okay. Another question, like in Roll&L, like we try to expand our reach to Latin American countries because with 400 million speakers, like, I mean, we need to do this if we want to promote this hobby because it's still a niche in Spain. And we often find that there are a lot of cultural differences that affect the games in the way we play. Yeah, not only the kind of games, the tone, the style, the stories that we tell. Yeah, have you played games with players from abroad or even non-native English speakers? So if so, were there things that surprised you or you found uncommon in your games with people from your community, regular community?
Well, most of my experience running games in the recent years has been in other countries, in Vietnam and in Malaysia, where I ran for a mixed group where usually I was the only British person, and then there was a mix of other nationalities that included local and then might be Canadian or Dutch or whatever, whoever wanted to play, kind of thing. And I think it kind of depends on not just like your primary cultural background, but also your like literacy in media. So I found, for instance, that a lot of my players in Malaysia were very like video games were their reference point for what D&D was like. Because D&D was so unusual there, longer ago, that their reference points for it were video games rather than touchstones I had from my youth, kind of thing. So I think, yeah, it's definitely part of it, but I've been surprised how low that. But it's not a barrier; it's just a difference, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I've played with quite a few people from across Europe now, and quite a few stateside friends as well. And although, playing with either British people or people who love to immerse themselves in British culture does have a difference, because just the sense of humour and the reference points are different. That's the only major difference for me. Otherwise, it's always been a delight playing with people, and everyone brings something funny and intelligent to the table. And I've honestly always had just a really positive time bringing like different people from different countries to my tables. It's never been a barrier. It's always been it's more that it's enriching rather than difficult.
Yeah, but that's a good word for it, enriching, I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was I played with. I think there's only one person I've played with who didn't speak English as a first language, but he was incredibly fluent and really good fun to play with. We did a Game of Thrones game, Song of Ice and Fire game together. I noticed absolutely no difference between him and the rest of the players, but he was highly fluent and highly experienced. I've noticed the same thing about playing with people in the US, that there are cultural differences, let's say, and there are quite a lot of situations, especially if you're playing a modern game. Like I was, my first tabletop online show was an Unknown Armies game, and because it was modern, you get so many more cultural references where everybody else in the cast was American, and I was just like, sorry, what's that? What does that mean?
Yeah.
To the point where there were a couple of like one-shots where we moved away from the main characters and they were like, we're going to be policemen. I'm like, I'm going to tap out of this one because I have no idea what to say in any situation in this. It would involve too much research.
I think actually you make an interesting point there. I've had more like cultural experience of cultural difference playing with Americans than I have with people of other nationalities, because I think Americans often expect that things are going to, their cultural experiences will be universal, and they don't realize some of the cultural references won't work. Whereas I didn't experience that with, say, Malaysian players. They came much more ready to mediate, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What was really funny is when we took some of those American players and they became the minority. So we did a couple of different one-shots in different systems, and like 3 members of a 6-person cast were English. And you can see before the show, the Americans just like, why are they talking about Scotch eggs? What does that even mean? What's going on? Like suddenly in the position that we'd been in for a bunch of campaigns, it's kind of fascinating to see that cultural exchange, if you want to call talking about Scotch eggs and cultural exchange. Personally, I do.
I will also say as well, I think it's very intimidating watching people, because I play on stream, watching an English-speaking stream and they're all talking a mile a minute and they're all making pop culture references and jokes. And I've had people be like, I want to play with you, but I don't think I can like keep up with the level of like the language you use. And I always want to say to those people like, oh no, sorry, please. Like if you were at my table, I would pace myself. I would try and make sure you were comfortable. And it's never that people should feel embarrassed if English is their second language to come and join my table, at least. And I think most people in the community's tables would just be totally cool with it, and it's fine.
Not even just cool with it. I think I'd actively welcome that, because I want to hear new stories. I want to see new viewpoints. I want interactions that I haven't had before. You know, I love my gaming buddies, but there's always more room at the table, and I don't think we're hearing a lot of those stories and voices at the moment.
Also, my home game that fell apart when the pandemic began, I had a German player that was playing the only dwarf character in a D&D game, and I had a Welsh person playing a half-elf, and so Elvish just became Welsh and Dwarvish just became German, and I got them to teach me little phrases in Welsh and German so that they could be like, hello, how are you today? In these other languages, and that was just really fun, and it was such an easy way to implement the concept of language in D&D just by having bilingual or more people at the table.
You like a Spanish halfling there. Oh.
Yeah, I love a Spanish halfling.
I think that's a good idea, because instead of making the fact they're working in a second language put them on a kind of on the back foot compared to you make it a two-way street where they're learning something and having some communication, perhaps like work to do, and so are you. And that makes it a much more rounded social interaction, I think.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks for the answers and for your ideas. Another question. So are you seeing, well, I guess you are all seeing a growth on the online TTRPG gaming because of the pandemic. We are absolutely seeing it too. Do you think it will continue after the pandemic, or do you think that the online role playing is not going to be considered the same as now as a valid option, or do you think it's going to go back to what it was, or is it going to be like this, or people is going to continue playing online? What do you think?
Can I say both? Because I'd never really played online prior to the pandemic. I'd always played face-to-face, and I will go back to that as my primary way of playing, when I can. But I think I will also continue to play online. And that, the pandemic has forced my hand into learning that, and that's positive. So I think lots of people switch back, but online will also continue to grow. I think we'll see both.
Yeah, I was going to say something similar. I think that a lot of stuff has sprung up, and a small amount of it might die off. There might be a few groups that part ways or what have you, but I think on the whole, people, for example, my group where we played in person, we used to all live in Manchester, and actually quite a lot of them are uni graduates, so they graduated uni and they moved back away from the city, and so we now have to play online. We've actually gone from a home game to an online game because we had the freedom to move around and still be able to play together. And I think that is a situation that probably quite a few people find themselves in, where originally they'd have found people from their own town to play with, but now they're like, actually, why don't I just find people from my time zone to play with, because I don't need to limit myself. And then also, I run my Discord server with my UK and European tabletop role-playing game friends, and it's got a couple hundred people in, and I think a lot of those people before now didn't know where to look for people to hang out with. As in, it's a hobby regardless of what we said in the first part of the discussion about how it's getting more popular. It's still a hobby that's kind of for nerds and whatnot, and you get a lot of introverts in the community, or you get people who don't want to admit they play role-playing games to a wider audience, and so I think the online element is going to stay because so many people have found these communities that they're like, yes, this is what I always needed and wanted. I just didn't know where to find it because I lived somewhere rural, or I lived with a group of friends who were not interested in my hobbies. And now they've built this little community for themselves. So I think there is a lot of staying power for the online games. I too will probably play a couple more home games around the table for sure, but my online games I don't think are going to go anywhere.
I much the same. I miss physically rolling dice and eating snacks, too many snacks, and I miss that face to face. But likewise, I think there are kind of two sorts of role play. There's the kind of proximity. These are the people who I have made my close geographic tribe. They are the people nearer me. But then I think the more you play online, the more you realize that you have a very specific type or style of role play that you enjoy the most. I really enjoy role play heavy tabletop. And the number of people who are really, really into that is relatively few, certainly in my area. But if you start opening things out to the rest of the country and the rest of the world, suddenly you get people who are like, no, that's my thing too, and I love it. Shall we put on wigs?
Yes.
So I think that opens you up to kind of hone the thing you love. But I don't think it's ever going to replace the face-to-face interaction. It's just a different kind of game. And certainly for me, all my friends are scattered across the country and across the globe, and we just wouldn't be able to see each other face to face.
I think that was a really good point, because definitely over the last year I've gotten really precise in exactly how I like to play and who I like to play with. Not that I don't play with a wide range of people, but I know the people I'm going to have the best game with are a certain type. But then when I'm around a table, it's almost completely different. There's completely different energy around the table. And I will say I do really miss the dice rolling aspect, in the sense that, like, I still remember to this day, you know, a nat 20 death save in Dungeons and Dragons is your backup with 1 hit point, and I can still remember, you know, that 20. I can remember the dice in my mind. I have the image and I can see it rolling, and you don't get that, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Adrenaline. You don't get the adrenaline at the table as much online. You can try with music and with good maps and with good vocal narration, but it still isn't quite the same.
I think something I learned through the pandemic is when I first started playing online, I was essentially trying to replicate what it was like at a table. And then I realized that was never going to happen. They were two different experiences that were best off being different. I have continued buying dice through the pandemic despite not using them. and therefore I am doubly keen to actually get some use out of some dice I've bought and just have sat and used.
Because they're taunting you, right? Like, so pretty.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, I've wanted to continue supporting businesses, for instance, that I wouldn't want to see disappear or struggle. And they're pretty. But I haven't been able to use them, and I'm very excited to do so from this week we can in the UK, right?
Yeah,
that's the beginning of it.
True.
Just about we can under limited circumstances.
Yeah.
That actually opens up not the opening up the country, but just generally supporting businesses and stuff. That's something that I've found tabletop role play shows on Twitch and the like have actually been really good for, because not just dice makers and performers, but artists for sure have done incredibly well out of that. And I know certainly there are a few people who have done the most incredible character art, either for shows or just fan art, and sent them into shows that they watch. And that's got the notice of actual like video game companies and tabletop companies, who then hire them to work on the thing that they love. I find that side of things really exciting, that kind of symbiotic. Plus, like, who doesn't want art of your character just suddenly landing in your inbox and you're like, oh my god, that's amazing.
Yes.
But they're these incredibly talented people who just needed that creative spark and a bit of an outlet to go, hello, this is the cool thing I can do. Do you like it? And the world goes, yes, do more.
Yeah.
And suddenly that's a viable career.
I do know that the flip side to that is people making physical stuff, like dice bags or maybe even dice themselves and things. I've known some small creators struggle because they don't have cons, and usually that's where they'd make all their money. They would rock up, set up a convention stall, and that is like a whole summer's worth of income. But it's been really like when I ran the charity event I ran last month, so many of those creators just want to help out and just want to offer their stuff and be there for the community. And so if you're watching this, go find a small creator whose stuff you like, and if you have spare cash, grab a dice bag or something, because it's always appreciated. I know it is.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have the cash, rate it or tweet it or share it or talk about it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So true. So related to the online question, there's one thing happening in Spain, very, very interesting in the Spanish-speaking community. Not only TTRPGs, the video game one, where every celebrity or influencer in Spain and Latin America is playing one thing called Marbella Vice, which is role-playing within Grand Theft Auto 5, the video game. And is gaining a lot of popularity with Ibai, El Rubius, and all the big Spanish streamers, and that essentially is people playing a role-playing game without our rules, tabletop rules, but within a video game. Yeah, and it's like it's eating a lot from what we developed or what the traditional games develop. Do you think that those kind of things, like role playing within a video game, are going to end up making disappear traditional TTRPGs because of the new technologies or new capabilities of video games that are going to show more or better graphics or better AIs that are going to substitute the DMs or things like that?
In a word, no. I think it might whittle down a few people who just prefer that experience. I know a good friend of mine did a lot of tabletop and then discovered role-playing in Red Dead Redemption, and she's just addicted to it now. And it's so cool seeing her find that. That's what sparks her at the moment. But I think if you love playing with the same group, and I think role-playing in things like Red Dead and other games, it's never going to be quite the same thing. You don't know what you're going to experience, but it's not the same as having a group and a story that's being told that you're shaping. It's just a different flavor of the same ice cream, right?
I think if anything, there's a lot of potential for in-person RPGs to get a great deal bigger. I actually saw something recently. It's a Kickstarter for fancy decks of cards, essentially, like traditional playing cards. And part of what they do to make it kind of a fancier, flashier product that's really awesome, essentially, is they're making games connected to it. And it's not labeled as an RPG. And I don't think the people doing it are heavily invested in RPGs. It's springing up independently in that space out of what cards do. So I don't think that you could replace that with video games. I think people will want that physical thing, such that even when RPGs exist and they don't know it, they invent them for themselves.
Yeah, I was thinking in a similar vein. I think it is almost the opposite effect. Like, you may get a few people who realize, oh, what I wanted to do all along was roleplay inside a controlled system and like a really fancy digital system. Those people will exist. But if anything, people who go to a streamer and watch that streamer heavily roleplay, say, I've seen people who do it in Skyrim, heavily roleplay a Skyrim character, and like, I love that. I wish I could have that experience myself, but it doesn't work for me. That person then might end up picking up something like Pathfinder and be like, oh wait, I can get that same experience here. And another reason I don't think it will replace it is because ultimately TTRPGs are the ultimate freeform. There is always a limit to how far the map goes in a video game, how many voice options you can have, no matter how many mods you install, no matter what you do. There's only so much you can say. There's only so much an NPC can respond. Whereas in TTRPG, that is only limited by everyone at the table's imaginations, and people's imaginations are pretty big and pretty wild. And so I think you're good. And another thing for me is I have tried to play games in a roleplay way, and I actually find it really hard. I can't roleplay into a video game, and it's mostly because of the people-to-people interaction in a video game. When an NPC is someone I want to be like, hey, how are you doing today? And all I can say is, what swords do you have for sale? I'm like, no, where's the real people? And then in a TTRPG, I can just be like, hey, blacksmith, cool apron, or whatever.
Yeah.
I think
sorry.
Something you just said there, Prue, actually is really interesting. That I think games like Skyrim or Grand Theft Auto have such enormous audiences and, frankly, marketing budgets that if even a small sliver of the people who play them can discover role-playing games through them, actually, I think they would help us grow rather than shrink.
Yeah, for sure. It's almost like seeing tabletop being threatened by LARP. It's more like LARP, like really fancy LARPing, where you don't actually get to see people face to face. I don't think LARP has ever been a threat to tabletop. They're companions, if anything, and I think this is going to be more of the same.
Absolutely. So, This is a fun question. So in the Spanish community, every week there's a flame or some discussion about a subject that is very, I don't know, that raises a lot of discussions and arguments and things like that in Twitter mainly. Yeah. So and they're cyclic. Yeah, they're always repetitive. The most repetitive ones are like D&D is not a real role-playing game, or it's just a board game, or narrative versus old school, or things like that, or just charging for demon or things like that. Those subjects are always there in flames in Twitter or in the TTRPG Spanish communities. What are the typical RPG flames in your communities?
A lot. There's so much discourse on especially on Twitter. People seek nuance in 280 characters, and you're not going to get nuance in 280 characters. I am struggling to pull some out of the back of my mind though. Definitely, there's definitely a lot of push and pull. Honestly, a lot of it is actually very pleasant and very mediated discussion, but I have seen it get heated on occasion between please try something that's not Dungeons and Dragons. Like we were saying earlier, Dungeons and Dragons is kind of the thing people default to in English-speaking tabletop. I do see a lot of people saying, please just give this indie game a go, or whatever. And that's one that comes up a lot. I'm trying to think what else comes up. There's always something. Fudging rolls, mechanical versus roleplay. Yeah, fudging rolls is a big one.
That's the cyclical one that comes around every 6 months again and again and again.
I think I've been blissfully unaware of the majority of this. I play with a lot of streamers, and there always tends to be way more drama about streaming than about tabletop. So it tends to get absorbed by that particular whatever drama is going on. It's always more about the streaming than tabletop stuff. Last year there was a lot of stuff off the back of Black Lives Matter, which was really, really cool to see, and a lot of casts have become a lot more diverse as a result of that, and that's pretty damn cool.
The biggest discourse of the last year for me, hands down, was the combat wheelchair that got introduced. And if anything, it's made so many more streams accessible, and people put disability in their games, which is great. Like, because there was obviously the backlash from the naysayers being like, how would a wheelchair exist? And no, I'm not. I'm 100% not in that camp. I'm
pretty sure I just saw that dude throw fireballs out of his fingers. For goodness.
I believe the person that made it, they're a UK-based creator as well, and you know that was definitely the biggest argument in our community, but it has meant accessibility became such a forefront. And I remember I was reminded, because you talked about Black Lives Matter movement, it also started a small wave of accessibility roundtables alongside these BIPOC roundtables, and I attended a lot of those, and I learned so much about how to roleplay disability. If you want to roleplay disability, how to do it respectfully. If you want to include it in your game, how to do it respectfully. And it even, led me to making sure I was making everything as accessible as possible. I never used to put alt text on my pictures on Twitter, and now I'm like, yeah, a picture of my cat, send, done, easy.
I think inclusivity has been a theme of a great deal of discourse, because there's a kind of status quo that doesn't support it as well as it could. And then when people say maybe we should be inclusive, I think some people feel attacked because they have this hobby they've loved for years, and they hear, think bad because it's not. And there's this clash of, well, I like this because I've liked it for a long time, with I want it to be more inclusive, and that drives a great deal of the discourse. Both topics you've just mentioned, that's like a core element of it, right? An inclusivity thing. That way, well, we've got a long way to go, right?
Always.
Yeah.
But, even just women playing tabletop was a very rarely spoken about thing 10, 15 years ago. So we continue to stride forward, I guess. It's It's cool to watch it evolve. The only part of it I really don't like is seeing people get angry because they think because they love aspect A of a thing, that's all that the game is about. Because to them it is. If you're like, hey, I'm really about the combat, and you see a bunch of people just immersing themselves in roleplay or vice versa, it does seem to be quite a quick trigger to anger in people. Like, you're doing it wrong. Or when people homebrew and they're like, yeah, we do know that we're not playing it like it said in this edition of the book, but we've decided for the purposes of this tweet works better. I think
it's
that's
kind of a
just
games
part
within
of the
games thing, right? There are a lot of people playing the same game, but it has the same name, but they're not playing the same game at all.
Yeah.
Like,
and even if they're using exactly the same rules, like it's all dependent on the GM and the players and what they create together, and that's the side of it I really love.
So this
different groups will play the same game totally differently.
I think there's a thing there as well, because for a lot of people who've played for a long time, like when I played as a teenager, me and my friends didn't have the internet. We played D&D together, and we were like the only 4 people we knew who played D&D. So there was no how we did it was how we thought it was done. And I think lots of people who've done that are now discovering how they've done it for 20 years isn't how everybody else has done it for 20 years. And sometimes that's a bit... They have opinions, strong opinions.
But that's where the inclusiveness thing is really cool and really fascinating, because it's all very well you doing some research on the internet, but there's only so much research you can do. It's never going to be a lived experience. So the best way to start opening up and becoming really inclusive is to have people who represent, women or people with disabilities or whatever. Have them actually at the table and maybe have a couple of awkward conversations of like, maybe not like that. Because a lot of people I know, like my at-home game, I was the only woman at the table. And luckily they were a great bunch of guys and we didn't really have any issues. But just occasionally I'd be like, no, I don't play women like that. You're putting what you think is a temptation in front of me, and I'm not thinking about that at all. So it's kind of fascinating to watch people's eyes being opened by a wider variety of players coming to the forefront and streaming and playing in person.
I think that's one of the things that we will look back on this kind of time period as being like a real significant time of change for.
Yeah. And it shouldn't be seen as a threat. I don't think. Like, if you still get to play the game the way you want, just there are other possibilities.
If you feel threatened by more people enjoying your hobby, you might need to examine.
You need to look at I feel in that case.
I much preferred this when it was just me in my basement with my 3 buddies, and now there's more of us.
Burning their D&D t-shirt. Like, no.
Exactly.
So, what are your favorite games and why? And are they popular within the English-speaking community?
I recently have been on an Alice is Missing hype, and Alice is Missing is getting quite popular. It's definitely it's definitely big for a game of its like fame, I think. Like the circles it moves in, it's very big for that. And if you don't know what it is, it's a silent tabletop role-playing game where you have a group text and you spend 90 minutes just texting each other trying to find your friend Alice who is missing. All to like an original soundtrack. And in fact, actually, that makes me think back to the point we were making about the video game crossover. That is a game with its own animation and original soundtrack, and you can still play it at a tabletop. So there are ways we can cross the digital and tabletop experience, but I've been playing that a lot. That is my current definite favorite game, because especially when you introduce new people to it and they all experience what happens to the fact it's the same game every time, but there's a different Alice and it's a different she's a different Alice every time, even no matter what, and the story's different every time. And I have been really enjoying exploring games that have this very small structure and you can do so much with them. I would say that's definitely my favorite right now. I always have enjoyed D&D, and I still play D&D. But I also I began my own Monster of the Week campaign with my friends from high school. My friends from high school, not gamers the way I'm a gamer, but they are all like into Amdram, and I was like, you will love role-playing games, but they wouldn't. I know they wouldn't love D&D. That is a player's handbook that is big and full of rules. And Monster of the Week, you're like, here's a 2-page PDF, roll 2d6, pretend to be a monster hunter, and we're all really enjoying it. And I made it all based on like UK cryptids and UK stories like that, and that's been really fun to translate to somewhere else. But that's what I've been playing a lot of at the moment. Yeah.
Nice. Alice is missing. Is amazing. We're looking at a way to try to play it online.
Yes.
We're trying to do that, but I think we'll have to code something. But yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing game.
I have a Discord template that you can feel free to use that presets up all of the chats as soon as you assign people the characters they choose.
Nice.
So as soon as someone picks to be Jack or whatever, you give them the Jack roll, and it unlocks all their voice chats and group chats they can be in.
Wow.
So you're welcome to it. It's simple. It might not be what you're looking for, but you're more than welcome to give it a go.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
I kind of love anything a little bit messed up. So like my first online experience was Unknown Armies, and I really like that side of things. I played a short part of a campaign of Vampire the Masquerade, and I really enjoyed that. But
I can't play Vampire because you just have to be so mean.
Oh, I was
and I'm
awful.
so bad at being mean in TTRPGs. They're like, kill this human, and I'm like, I can't.
I thought I was. I thought I was like, you've heard me. I'm like bumbling and a little bit like, but apparently there's an awful person who lives in the back of my brain, and she wanted to play Lillian Whitlock, vampire dominatrix, and she hated everybody. She was amazing, and I really want to bring her back and put her in another campaign sometime. But she was really cool. Played a lot of Call of Cthulhu. That's always fun. But the one that I'm really enjoying at the moment, because it's such a departure from what I've normally played, A Song of Ice and Fire. So it's basically like Game of Thrones. You can go to combat in it. It's an option, but it's mainly based around the political intrigue. So it's very wordy and about politically tweaking things, shall we say, and very role play heavy the way we're playing it anyway. So it's really cool watching like one person have a conversation or decide to wear a certain thing, because you know George R. R. Martin is famed for long descriptions of food and clothing. So we go into great detail about stuff like that, and it's amazing seeing the knock-on effect. Like several weeks later, it's like, well, you did this thing at court, so this happened. We've already strayed from the lore of actual Game of Thrones because one of the major NPCs has got killed off.
But you embrace a very particular kind of fiction, and then that actually it becomes self-generating almost.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I always thought, because I used to find improv really intimidating, I thought that I was going to find that difficult. But it feels like once you know the character, you just let them fly, and sometimes I'm surprised by what comes out of my mouth. Like, oh my God, I didn't know she felt like that. Oh God. And you yourself are screaming in the background like, you're gonna die. But you have to just play it the way that they would. And I love that, forcing your hand a little bit.
I think for me, at the moment, I'm playing in a Mothership game with some other writers and designers, and I think it is the first time I've really enjoyed a space game, like a space setting game. I've traditionally never really gelled with anything set in space, basically, and it's quite nice playing with a group where everyone runs a lot of things, reads a lot of things, writes a lot of things, and being able to pull it apart has made me enjoy it. But it's also the first time I've kind of clicked with something like in a space setting. And ask me again in the future why that is, because I don't yet know.
I will.
Yeah, that's it.
I also realised I forgot to shout out a game I have been really enjoying. It's because it's on hiatus right now, so it slipped my mind. But the Cyberpunk Red, the Art Alzorian Games released, I just think it's a really good core rulebook. And I think it's really easy to read and nice to play. And so if you like Cyberpunk, the latest installment of that Cyberpunk franchise is a very enjoyable game, and I've been really having lots of fun doing it and being a hacker in Night City. That's been very, very enjoyable.
Absolutely. We played it recently and we liked it a lot here in the channel. And remember that we liked it because it keeps like the same spirit than the 2020, Cyberpunk 2020. Like the rules are very similar, and it was very good. It was a very good game. Honestly, we enjoyed it a lot. So final questions, because it's getting late. Reoban, my last question here. Do you know any Spanish game or game published in Spain? Aha, I got you.
I didn't think so.
I wish I could remember the name of it. When I published the sealed library, some Spanish guys actually got in touch with me who had published a remarkably similar game, but not as a single player, as a 4-player game, and more like a board game, but it still had this, like the setting was really similar. You were librarians in a library that was under siege. People were trying to break in. But I wish I could remember the name of it, because that's now like a year and a half ago. But that's virtually the only kind of exclusively Spanish published game I'm aware of, I think.
Yeah, I unfortunately have to hold my hands up and say I don't know any Spanish games either.
Okay, I'll send you some later.
Yes, please.
Yes,
Please do.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, I tend to only play games that I'm sort of asked to be on Twitch shows for. That's been my learning experience. So if I get cast in something, then I learn the rule sets. But personally, that side of things I find quite difficult because, like I mentioned this to you in chat before we did this, but I have ADHD. So for me, like finding the ability and the time to focus on learning a whole new rule set, I find that kind of exhausting sometimes. So I try to keep my number of campaigns and the number of new things I'm learning quite small so I don't find it overwhelming. But yeah, I'd be totally up for learning some new ones.
The oldest one is, probably you've heard it, and I think it's the only one that has been translated into English, which is Aquelarre, which is a based on medieval Spanish folklore. It's based in Spain. We had the creator of the writer of that game recently here, a couple of months ago. It's a game from the 90s. So I really recommend it because that one, it is in English. I'll send it to you later. We don't have much time, but I'm going to read a question from the chat. Reoban says, "Hi, I'm from Spain and have lots of experience as a player and GM, but I have never played a game in English. Do you know any good site app where I could find people to play online in English and practice the language while I have some fun?"
You can come hang out on my Discord if you want, but no, I'm not just here to promo myself. Twitter, right? There's a wall of getting through finding people to follow, but Twitter is a really good space to connect with people that I have found. And then also, I've never used it, but I know people have had good experiences. I've also known a few bad ones, so it's kind of setting boundaries for yourself and making sure the players meet your boundaries. But Roll20 you can publish your game as looking for players, and people can come and hop on and join. But yeah, Discord communities and Twitter have been very useful for me, at least, for finding places to play games. It's just, you do have to spend a good few weeks kind of digging around on Twitter, finding the right one for you.
A lot of the time I've found you can kind of sense the tone. So if you go to the Twitch stream of a tabletop role-playing show and you join in with that, or just watch it and see what the tone of chat is, because there generally does tend to be a particular tone that is encouraged by that channel. Usually Discord is much the same, and most channels have their Discord, and there's almost always a section for people looking for other people to play with. So yeah, Discord, basically what you said.
I actually would have nominated Prue's Discord even if she wasn't here. Because it is, I'd say it's kind of non-native speaker inclusive, because it's quite sort of Europe focused. It means that there are, whatever your first language is, if it's a European language, I think there's other people in there who speak that language. And that probably means you can find a group of people where they'll be very happy to be inclusive of your learning curve, effectively.
Great. So if you're watching this on YouTube, Prue's Discord link is down here in the description of the video. Okay. So, we have limited time, but anything else? Any last things, comments that you want to say now before we go to the game?
As somebody who performs for a living, tabletop has given me a freedom that I never thought I would ever get in my career, and I probably won't. Having that control and ability to just improvise and really feel for characters and other people's characters has made me a better performer. So I'm intensely grateful. I just hope nobody will be disappointed that I will never GM a game for real. I might play one in Baldur's Gate 3, but that's as far as that goes. My head would explode. I have such respect for anybody who can GM. I don't know how you do it.
That's funny. I would say the opposite. I struggle much more in the kind of heavy RP player's role than I do as a GM. The whole kind of getting really into a character where you would wear a wig, that is way more outside my comfort zone than being the GM.
When the pandemic's over, just come round. I've got loads.
Yeah, go figure out what
I
works.
bought my first character wig during lockdown. It's like hanging on my wardrobe over there with her cape and her wig. And I also love GMing, so I'm like, why not do best of both worlds? I enjoy them both.
Absolutely. So, guys, thanks a lot for your answers and for this amazing time that we've spent talking about role-playing games. It's been great. We've learned a lot of things. So let's what we do in this channel in Roll NL is we always play, because we always like to play with our guests. Role-playing games, it's like this thing that parachuters have, that they can only talk with and meet with people that have jumped with them from a plane. We do the same. Okay. So
we're gonna jump from a plane, is what you're saying?
Yeah, more or less. Okay, let's play some music, and let's start with sorry, Amelia, it's going to be a little bit of improv, but don't worry, it's going to be simple.
I'll be all right.
Okay. Okay. It's almost midnight in Dovicek, the vibrant city of thieves and cutthroats. This time, this secret alley of your rendezvous with Little Rat is dark and cold. Little Rat is the local prince of thieves. And one of the people you hate the most, Ilvara. The small creature looks up at you and shows its teeth with a grin. Remember, elf, you do this job for me and your debt will be settled. Okay?
I just kind of glare at him. Anything you're not telling me?
Nah, the usual. Danger and danger. So, Ilvara, why did you ask Little Rat for money? Because you have a big debt with him.
Yeah. I may have made some mistakes liberating certain items that may or may not have belonged to a mark he already had. There might have been a confrontation. A couple of people might got a little bit stabbed in the face. Apparently, he didn't like that.
Okay. Sounds very, 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 very tough story.
It's just a Thursday.
Monday for us. Ilvara, you feel the urge to finish the rodent gangster. The way you said, like punch him in the face, like stab him in the face. Mm-hmm. But you decide against it after you smell sulfur in the air. That means that Splorg is close. He's the rat demon bodyguard. He's invisible and ready to materialize at the slightest sign of danger. Little Rat shifts his gaze between the three of you and says, "Now let me remind you and you underdeveloped brains what all this is about. You have to sneak into that house," and he points into a mansion at the end of the alley. "It is the house of Andronicus the Archmage, and you have to get me the scroll of Darul from its treasure vault. Understood?"
When you say Archmage, we're talking what? Booby traps, magical voodoo.
Ah, yeah, you're Thursday.
Yeah.
Ilvara, you did not need the memory refresh. You know exactly what you have to do anyway. So you've hired this group to do so. With the rat's money, of course. You look at your right, and there he is, the wizard, Antrim. You were friends years ago, but he did something that was impossible for you to forgive. What was it?
Ooh. I think Antrim would be better off answering that.
Okay.
I think, given that Antrim kind of is quite experimental with magic and tries things that he probably shouldn't, I think it's quite likely that a spell I cast that went awry in some way killed or hurt or possibly just disappeared somebody close to Ilvara.
Ooh.
Who was that?
Okay.
Ilvara.
That would have been my partner in crime.
Okay.
I'm hoping vanished, because if she's like gone, we're gonna have more than a conversation about this.
So perhaps even years later, we still don't know where they actually went, but we sort of hope for the best, perhaps.
Some of us more than others, probably.
Yeah. I hope to be forgiven, so I'm clearly hoping for the best here.
So,
Yeah, 'cause, you know, face stabbing.
It's on the agenda, and I'd like to avoid it.
So 5 minutes in and we have a ton of drama. Fantastic. So, Antrim, you barely register the conversation that is taking place around you. Anyway, and why is that? That's because that's the Daisy's fault. The little flower sprouts between two cobbles, the floor, and yells at you. "You're a mess! You are a useless mage, and your parents didn't love you!"
I love this Daisy so
Oh
much.
my god!
You need money, Antrim, badly. And you needed to stop this nightmare. I mean, someone has cursed you with the vegetal hex. It's a curse that makes you hear every plant around you. Every plant, flower, vegetable, anything, even trees. And what they say is never nice to you. In fact, the other day, an onion made you cry. So, okay, onions do that, but this one enjoyed it. So, Antrim, who do you think cursed you and why for?
Antrim or Bruce's character?
Antrim.
Ah, okay. Who cursed me and why? A rival wizard.
Okay.
I think a rival wizard who essentially wants to beat me in a duel and therefore has cursed me with something that they think will distract me when concentration is extremely important.
And it's clearly working. You can't
And
even...
it clearly works. If you throw an aggressive onion at me, it's all over, basically.
So this job pays well. At least that's what you remember. 500 gold coins. Exactly what you need for a good cleric to remove this damned curse. So you're optimistic about this, but you also have your doubts. Like inviting a noisy dwarf to an infiltration job. But at least he's Rocky, and you like Rocky. So Antrim, what is it that you like about Rocky? And what is your relationship with the dwarf?
Well, I'm a frail, fairly old man, and Rocky isn't. And so if I need, heavy things moving or skulls bashing together, then I think Rocky's the kind of person I would call for that. Is that fair, Rocky?
It's completely fair. Absolutely.
Completely fair. Exactly. So I think it's initially a business relationship, but one that's grown to be a bit warmer after working together and sharing some good times and adventures, I guess you might say.
Okay, nice. Rocky, the wizard is looking at you again, as if you didn't have enough problems today. So you need this mission to end well, because you need the money, badly. And you need it to throw a huge party. Why? Well, that is difficult. No, this was not the song I wanted to play.
This is going to be the happiest housebreaking ever.
Yeah, change in tone, right?
So you've realized you have little time left, Rocky. You woke up one morning 2 days ago, and you looked at the mirror, and you saw it. There it was, a white hair in your beard.
Oh no.
Age is coming for you. So how does this make you feel?
I thought I'd be young forever, me. Rocky Hammersmith. Unbendable, unbreakable. And I swear I've got crow's feet coming in as well. Oh no. And definitely in full dwarf style. If I think my time is coming, this one grey hair in my beautiful beard, well, it's time to dance on the tables, get, I don't know, a couple thousand kegs of ale. That should do the trick. Invite all of my dwarf clan. I'll invite Antrim. He usually goes down after one glass of wine, but we'll see how he does. Partying dwarf style.
Yeah, partying, because life is short, huh? So this heist is going to be a challenge. Well, you hope your knees or your back don't, start failing because, hey, there's a white hair in your beard. But you have other concerns here. I mean, you have the elf, Ilvara. What is it that happened between you two some years ago?
I think Ilvara was sweet on somebody. And me not realizing, I didn't know. I was just partying, I was having a good time. I invited them to dance, and then I invited them to kiss, and then Ilvara walked in, and I don't know, she shoots daggers out her eyes at me every time she sees me since then.
I don't care. I don't know why you keep saying I care. I clearly don't care. Stop talking about it.
Yeah, no, okay, yeah, you don't care. I'm sorry, I'd forgotten that you didn't care. The look on your face just implied, well, I'm sorry.
What's that in your beard?
Nothing. There's nothing in my beard.
Little Rat interrupts you again. So, are you going to do it or not? That is the house. You only have 1 hour for this. Andronicus is out at the opera, and if he doesn't like the play, he will be back sooner. So move! What do you do?
I don't ask any more questions. I just very quietly and stealthily move towards the house, kind of looking around to see if anybody else is watching.
I kind of sling my battle axe back over into its holster, and I kind of follow, but at a distance, because I know that Ilfara is the person who is probably best to go scope out the scene. I'm just like, oh, I've heard it's a pretty good play, at least. We should have plenty of time.
Antrim, what do you do then?
I walk pretty slowly at the best of times, so I will follow along behind Rocky, trying to keep the kind of creaking of my old bones to a minimum.
Okay. So Ilvara, you lead the way to the mansion. And, well, from the outside this house looks ancient, but wonderful. It has been built with white stone and has marble decorations and statues. Tall rectangular and barred windows brighten up the facade and have been added to the house in a fairly symmetrical pattern. A glowing door with arcane symbols seems to be the only entrance to it. What do you do?
I'll lean over to Antrim and point at the glowing symbols. Like, are those no more legs? Is that something you can... And kind of shudder, like I hate even dirtying my hands with this kind of work.
Well, Antrim will need to get a bit closer and kind of really get his glasses in there and try and read the runes to see if he can establish what language they are, or particularly what they do.
Okay, can you roll then intelligence? It's on your character sheet at the left panel.
I just click the actual letters INT to the red.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
So, no,
smart, Antrim. It's a bit smart.
Don't tell me that you're one of those lucky groups that have successfully every rolls, because this is not going to be fun then. Okay, so yeah, the door is rigged. There's a trap there, an electrical trap, and it's a very dangerous one. So if you don't read the symbols on the door correctly, it's going to trigger and is going to throw a lightning bolt at you. The good news is that you think it's pretty easy and you can do it. You can open it.
So what do I need to do to disarm it? Do I need to touch them in a specific order or something?
Yeah, let's say you need to do that.
Yeah, cool. So I'll touch them in the appropriate order to disarm the trap, and kind of step back and say, "Oh, okay, we can go in."
You're a genius,
You hear a voice,
Antrim.
you hear a voice. That's just the new guy's luck. Oh, look at him. He's a useless mage, but he got lucky this time. And you see over the door there's moss on the stone, laughing at you.
I'm going to try and ignore it, but I'm sure that the other two can see me kind of slightly like glancing up above the door. But obviously they don't hear it. It's just entirely within my own cursed head.
Okay. The door opens and you see the room beyond it. In front of you, there's a small room with a set of stairs that go down to a lower level. Each step of the stairs is painted with a different color. See this image? Here it is. Green, red, or black. Suddenly, a ghostly figure materializes out of thin air, and in front of Ilvara. It is an old floating gnome with a long beard, not white, Rocky. And he has a pointy hat. He promptly says, "Welcome back, Master. You're early, so I suspect the play was crap. No, wait, you're not Master. Who are you?" What do you guys do?
Master sent us to get some stuff. The play was much better than he was anticipating, and apparently we need to get some supplies.
That's a good one. Can you roll charisma, please?
Oh God, I haven't even looked at my charisma. I don't know whether this was a good idea. Let's find out. Let's see. No, not really.
That is not true. I've never seen you here, and I've been here for too long. I don't know you. But that is the good news. That means that you're thieves. So you're going to die soon. And join me here.
Join you? What,
Yeah.
you're a thief, are you?
No, now that you look at him, I mean, he's translucent. I mean, the light passes through him. It's like he's a specter.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
He's a ghost.
You're post-life, right? And look like a little twitch in my lip as I say it. We're a thief? Sorry.
Can I prod him with my staff and see if it goes through? Like, is he solid? Just not hard, just gentle to see if he's corporeal or not.
Yeah, you approach the staff to it, and yeah, it passes through him. Hey, that tickles!
Do it again.
So we could, I'll just ignore the gnome and just be like, oh, well, should we just walk through him? Should we just carry on?
Yeah.
Or you could poke him some more and tickle him and then only stop when he tells us if there are any more traps.
That's excellent. So I given that he's floating a bit above the floor, I'm kind of imagining I tickle sort of about on the knee. We'll move up a bit and try again. And then see if we can kind of distract him by tickling him.
You try that again, but he's only laughing. But like the fun in him like disappears after some seconds, and he seems distracted by Rocky. Hey, nice beard, nice white touch there.
No, it's not. I do not plan on joining you in post life anytime soon. Do not mention the beard. Do not look at the beard. And I crack my knuckles.
He gets scared. Oh, okay. So how do you guys want to die here? We have the spike traps. We have the flaming throwers. We have the zombies. Although one of them is sick today. So how are you going to do it?
How about we don't die and you show us around the house so we don't die, and then I don't kill you the second time, because I don't know if you'll be lucky to come back the second time. And I hold myself up to my whole 4 foot height and flex my big biceps.
He looks at you, then looks at your colleagues, and he says, "Hey, he's an angry dwarf, isn't he? Or she, or what are you, by the way? We always have these beards, and you have different colors."
I am a woman, and I would appreciate it if you spoke to me as such. I don't know, I flex another muscle. I'm running out of muscles that I know on the body. My neck, I flex my neck.
Yeah, you can do a good neck flex with the tendons, right? Yeah.
He looks at Antrim again, and he says, "She's an angry dwarf." And he now talks to all of you and said, "Unfortunately, I cannot help you. I have a curse on me that does not allow me to tell you where to go."
So, what, the curse is why you're dead?
I don't know. You know curses. They're all strange.
They certainly are. I know. I can relate to that.
I sympathetically pat you.
Looking around the room for anything plant life.
Oh! At the base of the stairs, there's a ficus there. There's a ficus, green, shiny.
Well, I'm gonna
Hasn't
keep
said
an eye on
anything.
that. Hasn't said anything, but I'm watching it.
Okay. What do you guys do?
Say to the spirit, just a thought. Not very up to date with the whole post-life thing. If we burnt this house down, what happens to you?
Oh, I've never thought it, but I never thought about it. But I guess I'm linked to the house. So if you destroy the house, you'll destroy me, and I have a lot of fun playing chess with the zombies. I always win.
Right. I just kind of like lean back against the wall, like.
I don't think we've got time for this, and I'm just gonna try push through him and into the house.
You push through him, and he doesn't do anything. And you reach the first step. The first step has a mark painted on it, and it's actually green.
I forgot the steps were painted. I'm stepping on the green step.
You're stepping on the green step.
You woke
Please.
up this morning and chose zombies.
Rocky is not an intelligent woman. Bless her.
Okay, so
that's not why I hired her, right? It's all about the
okay, so no, it's not Ilvara. Is Rocky. So on your character sheet, if you have the derived panel. Under it, you have hit points, movement, AC, AB. You have a word saying ST, saving throw. Can you roll that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, that is a 5.
And that's a failure. Fantastic. So, once you step on the first step, you feel a tingling on your body. And instantly later, a cloud of lightning appears from nowhere.
Oh no.
And hits you for 5 hit points. The rest of you see Rocky falling to the ground and having a seizure, an electrical seizure. What do you guys do?
I look like physically pained. I think at this point I'm like leaning against the wall, massaging in between my eyes, like, oh. Feeling better?
Please help me, please.
Oh, it's still going on.
I don't know. I apparently am having a seizure, so I suppose yes.
Be twitchy for a while, right?
The gnome, the ghost butler, says, "Oh yeah, you shouldn't do that. The steps have traps."
I've noticed. Can I like get to my feet? Is it like slowly wearing off?
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah.
Can you?
Yes.
Okay.
I can. But I'm shaky. I'm wobbly.
I'll elbow Antrim and point to the step that she just stood on and be like, can you see if that one's still doing the thing, or is it like a one-time? Is it a shot or a bottle?
I'll bang it heavily with my staff. Take a thoroughly non-magical approach to
I
this.
start massaging my temples again. I thought you did with magical sight, but hitting it works too.
Okay. So you hit the step. Can you roll a saving throw, please?
Brilliant.
No.
Going so well.
I did earn this.
Okay.
That's also not good.
No, that's also not good. And that's 2 hit points for good old Antrim. Let me deduct it from you. 6, 8. And yeah, you see the clouds of lightning appear from nowhere, and the lightning, of course, travels to try to hit the nearest living thing connected to the floor. And it hits you, and Antrim hits the floor. And Antrim, you feel pain, but you also hear from the end of the stairs, Useless!
The damn ficus.
Wait, why don't we? If it's targeting things that are alive, sorry, this is a lot of brain power for me. We could take the ficus and put it on the step and then jump over the step. Easy peasy.
No, don't listen to her! Don't listen to her!
Why don't you try that out?
Okay.
Just lean back and watch. I'm just going to let them guinea
I'm going to
pig.
go and pick up the ficus, carry it over my tiny little head, stomp over to the stairs and slam it down on the steps and then jump back as quick as I can.
There's only one problem with that approach, is that the ficus is at the bottom of the stairs.
Oh, and we're at the top.
Yes.
Can I try and jump all the way down the bottom of the stairs without
You
touching
can.
the step?
You can,
Yes,
of
please.
course. Can you roll dexterity, please?
Absolutely, I can. Oh dear.
I mean, you do it. Let's be honest, you do it, but not in an agile manner. Okay.
I land on my bum.
That's it. You land on your bum and you roll on the floor and you hit the wall at the other end, next to the ficus. So that's going to be painful. I'm sorry. So that's going to be 1d4 because of the fall. Yeah, this is an OSR. You lose hit points very easy. Oh my god.
Oh no! How unlucky.
Yeah, you hit your head.
Oh.
You're right down there. I've got some rope in my pack. I could have just.
Well, you live and you learn.
Do you?
And I'm gonna pick up.
Do you learn? Yeah.
Hey, enough of that. I pick up the ficus and I go and put it on the step.
Okay. The ghost butler, the gnome, says to you, Ilvara, "You guys are funny. You guys have crazy ideas." And you see at the bottom of the stairs, Rocky placing the ficus on a step. What color is that step, Rocky?
I was gonna try and reach, but I actually have a very tiny arm, so it probably is on the black step rather than the green.
You put it in the black one, and nothing happens. And the ghost butler says, "Oh, look at that! The angry dwarf found the solution. Yeah, Master is colorblind."
Couldn't have told us that earlier.
Oh, I totally forgot. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll be waiting down here for when you lot decide to get your bums down. And I'm just gonna lean on the wall, just watching you all.
I still don't trust the steps, and I don't trust this ghost thing. I don't trust any of this. I'm gonna like ninja warrior off the walls down to the bottom. I'm not touching them.
Okay.
Quite graceful, hopefully.
No, let's say you do that successfully, yeah? And the gnome is completely astonished by you. Wow, you're amazing. Have you ever thought about joining us? I mean, the zombies are not very graceful.
Why would I want to do that?
I don't know, it's fun. Do you play chess? Okay.
So since this is taking a while, I kind of turn to Antrim and how would you feel about burning down an opera house?
Would we get the reward if we burnt it down?
Well, you never said we
There is a
couldn't.
lot of stone.
Yeah, but there's always something flammable. Isn't that what you do?
True.
be fun.
A catalyst would be useful. Let's find something nice and burnable, and then we can try.
I'm pretty sure opera singers are
Oh,
quite
using
burnable.
fancy words. You hear the ficus. Catalyst.
I'm gonna tramp down the stairs and tip the ficus over.
Okay, so you're now, all of you, at the bottom of the stairs in this new level. And in front of you, there's a corridor with a door at the end. The door is completely open and you see a room at the other end. What do you guys do?
I want to scout around for traps.
Okay, can you roll wisdom, please?
Let's see. It's not great. No! I think we used up all our luck on the very first roll of the game.
Yes.
Downhill from there.
I apologise for that. That's entirely my fault.
Hey, so what happened?
I mean, it fits with the way I'm playing her, I guess. Like, not smart.
So there's nothing strange with this corridor, and the room after it is a very simple one. So it's kind of a small room with 4 pillars and an altar, stone altar at the center, with a book resting over it, on top of it, and there's a yellow fog swirling low over the floor, just a dozen centimeters, very dense, and it smells really bad. What do you do?
Is the ghost gnome still here?
Oh yeah, he's following you, especially you,
Okay.
specifically you, and he's
Okay.
talking a lot all the time.
Please,
Why don't you
please.
join us, Chess?
Fingers on lips. Right. Is there anything, like the steps, that you have forgotten to tell us about this room? Dangerous things.
Dangerous. Well, Black Gambit of Queen is a very dangerous thing, and I always used to use it as an opener in my games.
Okay, and stuff bodily, non-chess related.
Not chess related. Oh yeah, there's a book there, but it's not a chess book, so it's boring.
Okay. Any further information?
Yeah, that book opens the door to the vault. It's hidden in a wall. I never remember which one.
Huh.
Are you gonna play with me now, Chess, or not?
Well, I mean, I might have a game if you help us find.
Where's
open the
your
vault.
chessboard?
Oh, I always forget about. Where did I put it? Was it?
Possibly you left it in the vault. If you show us how to get into there, we could play chess in the vault.
That's a good idea. Can you roll charisma, please?
So, yeah.
I've never understood, why does the horse go in an L shape, you know? I don't get it.
Horses do whatever they want.
No.
He says, "Oh, let me check," and he disappears. He becomes invisible, and a minute later he appears again. No, he's not there, but you can't see where did he go.
You're gonna laugh, right? But I have remembered that as a dwarf, I do know how rocks and things fit together and how little mechanical stuff is made. So if I'm trying to find the door or maybe a trap around the door, what my parents used to teach me might be able to help. I'm sorry I forgot until this moment, but I think I could give it a go if you trust me.
What's
It's a
wrong
very
with
strong word.
What's wrong with your memory? Are you too old?
No, I am not old. I am young and lithe and limber and strong. I just hit my head, and my memory escaped me for just a mere moment.
She's an angry dwarf, he tells you, Ilvara. So okay,
Well,
that's,
my lips just full on twitching at this point. I've probably got a matching twitch in my eye. Like,
yeah, face stabbing a ghost. How can you do that?
yeah, this is the least stealthy creature I've met in a while.
So,
And I'm traveling with these two.
Brocky, where are you going to start with? I mean, what wall? Which wall? Front, left, right?
I'm gonna go left. Why not? Left-hand wall. I'm gonna look for like a secret door.
Okay. First, can you roll saving throw, please?
Yes, absolutely I can. Dearie me. A 19.
You Okay, you walk into the room. You walk into the room like, whoa, this fog is very dense, and it reaches your chest. Well, it starts to rise, and it smells funny. You start coughing, but it doesn't affect you much. You reach that wall, and you start hitting the wall, listening. And there's definitely a door here. However, there's that horrible thing called magic, and you're absolutely sure that is a magical door and has no physical mechanism.
Well, me hardy dwarven constitution, me good old lungs, they're doing all right in here, but you lot might want to, get your handkerchief out, Antrim, just give it a little, protect yourself. Doors here, it's magic. And I shrug.
So, I've got an idea. If we can't breathe the fog, I've got a sleeping bag, and if the two of you hold either end and wave it to move the fog, I can go and check out the magic book.
Waft
all
it.
right, Chief.
Yeah, let's.
Yeah, waft it good.
I'm gonna clip that. Okay.
Furious wafting.
Yeah. So they waft with the sleeping bag to try and kind of clear the fog away, and I'm going to go and try and read the magic book.
Okay.
I've no idea what stat roll wafting with a sleeping bag is. But
Me neither. What do you think? What do you want to roll?
I think let them choose as they're doing the action rather.
Okay.
I think it would probably be Dex or Strength.
Yeah, let's go with strength.
Doing that for a while hurts.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it for a while, it might be Constitution, right?
No.
So strength roll to shake sleeping bag.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, you got lucky again.
Ooh.
Shake
So,
it.
yeah, there's this cloud of
Yeah.
Oh,
Whoa.
Nice.
we are in time. This is the best wafting I've ever done.
That's prime wafting.
Nice. So that cloud of toxic fog ends up moving all the way back to a corner of the room, leaving you enough space to reach the center of the room with the altar and the book, and even all the walls except that farthest right corner. What do you do?
So I want to go and try and read the book. I guess my first question is it in a language I can easily read?
What do you think?
I think if the answer is no, I'm going to cast read language on it. So it's almost...
Okay, it is. Let's not waste time.
Yeah, cool. So I just want to try and read it, find out what the book is about. And given that now we know where the magical door is, I want to see if I can find any reference to that, like a diagram with the room or something like that.
Okay, so you reach the book, start looking at it, and you start hearing something like, "You're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it. You don't even know how to read."
I'm going to start looking around for where this goddamn plant is, because it might get magic missiles if it carries on like this. What plant is giving me shit now?
You start looking around. You start looking around, and you can't find it. But then you start concentrating, and you look at the book, and there's one page marker, tiny. It's a leaf of tea. And you look at it, and it doesn't have eyes, but you feel its eyes, like with rage, looking at you.
I will boil you if you don't shut up.
You'll die of indigestion.
Yeah. We'll see about that. Now, of course, the other two who are wafting can hear me arguing with the book, but they can't hear the book, the tea leaf. So I'm going to keep flicking through the book, and I'm just going to shove the tea leaf between the back cover and the back page to kind of try and shut him up.
Slam it a couple of times.
Yeah, a couple. But
Okay,
you can probably still hear muffled insults from the back, right?
He always does this when he reads books. It's just his thing. You know, don't worry about it.
It's because he's getting old. You've got all this to look forward to quite soon, I reckon.
Keep shaking that sleeping bag, you. Waft, waft. Angry wafting now.
So you, Elf, what do you say? You, me, a quiet room, and black and white.
How lonely are you? Can't you see I'm wafting?
Can't you see I'm wafting?
I can't play chess with anybody until this is done.
Okay. I'll wait for you. I like you, you know.
Why?
I don't know. I'm so lonely here. I only have the zombies, and they don't talk.
And the ficus.
What?
The plant. Forget it. Wafting.
Antrim. You find what you were looking for: a way to open the door and a way to destroy the tea leaf. You only have to read a passage of the book, and the door to the vault will open magically.
And that seems rather easy.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
It does. But nevertheless, you don't get to be an old wizard without occasionally being cautious. So I am going to cast armor on myself.
Okay.
And then I am going to read the passage in the book once I am suitably protected.
Okay. Ilvara and Rocky, you see that Antrim starts casting a spell on himself, and then he starts reading something, an unknown language, and points at the wall, and magically the borders of a door start glowing, and the door opens. A cloud of dust rushes forward, and you start seeing a room at the other side. What do you guys do?
Coughing. Like, all right, take over the wafting.
I think you can stop wafting now, right? I think we've probably wafted
Has it gone?
It's all in the corner, right?
Oh, we've wafted it into the corner. Okay, fair enough. Is there anything in this room that I can pick up and throw? Or is it just plain floor?
Plain floor, the book. Oh, this is too sad music. Come on, it's a drama.
I'm pretty. I'm a stocky lass. I don't mind charging in straight at first, just grabbing whatever's in there.
But that's what you did with the stairs, isn't it? And
Oh,
then you had your little dancing.
Yeah, that is what I did with the
Yeah.
stairs.
And you're too old for that. You gotta be careful with your age.
I
agree with the see-through gnome.
I push the see-through gnome ineffectually. My hands just go through the see-through gnome.
No, we don't have to waft anymore. Stop wafting the gnome. I'm just gonna massage my temples and move towards this door.
Okay. So let me show you something. The other side of the door, you see a platform overlooking a bigger room, and at the center of this platform, at the far end of it, is a stone platform. There are a series of steps that go up to kind of an altar thing with a chest, a glowing chest with tons of gems encrusted in it. Well, can you confirm you see the map? Do you see it correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you guys do?
I think upon seeing that box of gems, you can see my eyes like sparkle, proper manga style, like. And I try to keep myself a little bit calm and like, can we see this? It was a scroll, wasn't it, that we had to get?
The chest is closed. The gems are encrusted on the structure of the chest. Yeah.
I mean, Ilvara, we could always just take the whole chest. Extra reward for us.
I like your thinking.
I think it'd fit in my sleeping bag, and we can just drag it along. It'll be easy.
Ooh. I'm just gonna have a look at my inventory. Hang on a minute.
Given the sleeping bag came in so handy, you want to check out what you've got?
Well, yeah, basically. Looking at the stones leading towards that altar thing. Can we see over the edge of it? At all?
Yeah, but even with your dark vision, you can't see the bottom.
Okay.
So, can I cast light to kind of, shed some light on the situation?
There are two torches at the end of the platform that light all the area on the platform, but even with that light, you can't see the bottom of the fall.
Can't see down to the bottom of the pit.
Yes.
So I'm a bit wary that some of these stones might be loose or trapped or whatever. So I'd like to pour the contents of my water skin onto the stones and see if it disappears between the cracks in any of them, or if it just spreads out over the stones.
Okay. You do that, and you get on your knees and start looking at the stones. And you hear, yummy! Next, some whiskey, please!
Where is the offending plant?
That's the thing, you can't see it. Probably some moss between some stones.
A little...
Yeah.
A little something. But the water, does it all disappear in cracks, or does it...
It disappears.
It's spread it?
Yeah.
So it runs between the stones. That's alarming. That's not good.
Dwarf, have you got something heavy we can tie to the end of this? And I pull a length of rope out of my pack.
I've got my battle axe.
That's heavy.
I don't know if I want to particularly let that go. What if those zombies show up?
Well, it'll be tied to the rope, and we can tie the rope to you. So.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I was not piecing everything together correctly. Of course, I will get out my battle axe. I'm gonna.
Anyway, the zombies are not here. They are in chess 101.
Oh, well, perfect. Do you have extra sign-ups for that? Perhaps.
I can sign you up, yeah, but
Great,
I think you're too old for that initiation group.
The battle axe.
Not quickly tie a good thieves knot so that it's nice and secure on the end of the rope, and loop the other end of the rope around her. Be like, all right, happy?
Yeah, very happy.
All right.
Okay.
You might want to hold on to something just in case.
Okay. What sort of something? Hold on.
If we can use my staff and we can tie the rope around the staff and then put it horizontally across the doorway, so it acts like a brace.
Perfect. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, maybe not.
Then we've got an anchored dwarf, not just a dwarf on a rope.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
I'm gonna very gently, like, as a test, like slide the battle axe across the first couple of these stones.
Okay, and nothing happens.
I'll try it a couple more times.
You don't trust me? No.
different stones, just in case.
You start trying the stones, and they all seem perfectly normal. They don't react to the touch of the axe. Okay, just to end this, because I promised you 2 hours, please roll wisdom, please.
Oh no.
No, not Rocky, because, she's distracted.
You tied to a battle axe.
Yeah.
Just watching my battle.
I'm having such a bad day.
Yeah.
Unwise.
Okay, so as far as I can see, where's Antrim? You need to roll too.
Oh, roll as well? Okay, sorry, I thought
Yes.
it was just Ilvara.
No, please save me.
Okay.
Better, but not good.
You just missed an unusual sulfur smell.
Oh.
And there's something that surprises you, Antrim and Ilvara. A voice at your back from Little Rat holding a crossbow to your back. And now it's time to die and give me the scroll. Slurp! And you hear the big bodyguard demon materializing right in front of Rocky out of thin air.
Uh-oh.
And I'm sorry guys, because we've just finished our session today. Let me change the music. Let's imagine whatever happened there, okay? So let me change. Oh, what happened? Oh, yeah. There you are. Guys, a special thanks to Amelia, Prue, and Matt. Guys, you're the best. Thanks a lot for being with us today and share your views about the community, the TTRPGs, and play with us. Thanks a lot. You're the best.
That was a lot of fun.
No,
I want more
Thank you very
of the
much for
talking
having us.
plants. That's so genius.
I know I enjoyed that. That's a good curse.
It's a very good curse.
Yeah. So please follow them on their social networks. You'll have their content down there in the description. Les seguís, les dais like, comentáis, vais a sus canales, les decís que molan mucho. They're very cool people because they accept to be here, and we hope you the best of lucks and the best of enjoyments in all your games. So now, ahora tenéis la partida de Numenera, así que no os vayáis, ¿vale? Con Antonio. Guys, thanks a lot. Let's say bye, and I'm gonna cut the stream.
Adiós.
Adiós.
Bye.